Hello. A king and a queen had one beautiful little daughter called Lila Rosa. And Lila Rosa was kind and good as well, so that everyone loved her. And they were all very happy. But one day, alas, the queen died. And not long afterwards, the king took a new wife, a wicked woman, who had a daughter of her own called Lila, who was bad and ugly. The two princesses grew up together in the royal palace, but the new queen and her ugly daughter Lila hated Lila Rosa. They bullied her and ordered her to fetch and carry for them. Now, one day the new queen and the two girls were walking in the garden, and they heard the head gardener speaking to one of his men.
Bob, just go and fetch that axe that we left in the wood.
Oh, yes. But the queen said,
Your man is busy with the rose bushes, gardener. Lila Rosa shall fetch the axe.
Oh, but that is hardly the sort of errand a princess should be doing, Your Majesty.
Mind your own business. When I give an order, I expect to be obeyed. Go at once, Lila Rosa, and bring the axe here.
Yes, of course, Mother.
So Lila Rosa went to the wood and found the axe lying under an oak tree. And there were 3 white doves perching on the handle of it.
Dear little birds. But you must fly away now, because I have to take this axe to the Queen. Oh, but before you go, here's something for you.
And she took a piece of cake from her pocket and crumbled it, and held it out on the palm of her hand to the doves. And the doves flew up from the handle of the axe and ate up all the crumbs. They flew up into the oak tree. And Lila Rosa walked away with the axe. In the tree, the doves were talking.
What reward shall we give this kind and lovely maiden? I will make her even more beautiful than she is now. I will give her hair like fine spun gold. And I will give her pearls and diamonds to fall from her lips wherever she laughs.
Then the doves fluttered their wings and flew away. So, when Lila Rosa came back to the palace garden with the axe, everyone was amazed. She shone in beauty like the sun itself. Her hair gleamed golden, and when she gave a little laugh, pearls and diamonds fell from her lips.
Why, what on earth?
The new queen was furious. Now she hated Lila Rosa 3 times as much, and Lila looked even more ugly. She was so jealous.
Lila Rosa, go indoors and wash your hair at once.
Yes, Mother.
Head gardener,
Your Majesty.
come here. Now, take this axe back into the wood and leave it just where you left it before.
Yes, Your Majesty. Certainly, Your Majesty.
And she told him what he must say when she and Lila came to walk in the garden next time.
And mind you, if you don't do and say just what I've told you, I will have you whipped.
So he took the axe and laid it under the oak tree. Next day the queen and Lila went to walk in the garden again, and the head gardener and his man were still planting rose bushes. So when the head gardener saw them coming, he said,
Bob, I left my axe under the oak tree in the wood. Go and fetch it. Very well.
No, your man is busy. The Princess Lila shall fetch the axe.
But that is hardly the sort of errand a princess should be doing, Your Majesty.
Mind your own business. When I give an order, I expect to be obeyed. Go at once, Lila, and bring the axe here.
I don't see why I should.
Bring it here.
So off went Lila, grumbling and muttering, until she came to where the axe lay under the oak tree. And there were the 3 doves perching on the handle of it.
Be off with you.
The doves flew up into the tree, and Lila walked off with the axe. In the tree, the doves were talking.
What punishment shall we give to that rude princess? I will make her twice as ugly as she was before. I will make her hair like a thorn bush. And every time she laughs, a toad shall jump out of her mouth.
Then the doves fluttered their wings and flew away. When Long Leda went back into the garden, the head gardener and his man gave one look at her and rushed away. And as for the queen, she gave a shriek and fainted. Long Leda looked twice as ugly as she did before. Her hair stuck out all round her head like a thorn bush. She laughed to see the gardeners running, and a great toad sprang out of her mouth. Well, after that, the queen hated Lila Rosa more than ever.
Lila Rosa must die, and Lila Rosa shall die.
And she sent for the captain of a ship that was getting ready to sail to a far distant land.
Captain, if you will take the Princess Lila Rosa with you and throw her overboard in the middle of the ocean, I will give you 1,000 gold pieces. But if you refuse to do it, I will have you killed.
Then give me the 1,000 gold pieces, Queen. I have no wish to die.
So that very night, the queen gave Lila Rosa a special drink to make her sleep soundly. And when she was asleep, the captain of the ship carried her to his ship and set sail. But when the ship was in the middle of the ocean, a terrible storm arose. The ship was wrecked, and the captain and his crew scrambled into a tiny boat and rowed off, forgetting all about Lila Rosa. But the rough and roaring waves had pity on her. They floated her away and tossed her up at last on the sandy shore of a little green island. There she lived all alone, eating wild berries and fruits, drinking the water from a bright little spring and sleeping among the ferns. Often she stood on the sandy beach looking out over the sparkling waves, hoping to see some ship sailing her way, and no ship came. But one day the waves threw up two objects at her feet. One was a coconut, and the other was the life-size figure of a mermaid, carved in wood. The mermaid wore a gold crown. Her hands were crossed over her breast, and her lips were smiling. Lila Rosa carried the coconut and the mermaid to the place where she used to sleep. She made some holes in the top of the coconut and drank the milk.
Oh, that was good.
Then she took a big stone and hammered until she'd broken open the coconut.
Oh, this will be good too. But surely I should share this treat with the birds.
So she put some broken-up coconut on top of the mermaid's crown.
Now, little birds, here's your breakfast.
Then she went a little way off and sat down among the ferns to watch. The sun was warm and the air was balmy. Lila Rosa shut her eyes and fell asleep. She dreamed that she was listening to a beautiful song. She woke up and followed the sound back to where she'd left the mermaid and the coconut. There was no mermaid, no coconut, but a blossoming, sweet-smelling linden tree, and perched on the topmost branch of that tree sat a nightingale, singing. But it wasn't only the nightingale that sang. Every leaf of the small tree was making music.
What beautiful music! Oh, I don't think I shall ever feel sad again.
And every day after that she used to sit under the linden tree and listen to the nightingale and the leaves. And one day, when a ship did come, she didn't see it, because she no longer went down to the sea to look for it. The ship belonged to a young prince, sailing here and there about the world for his pleasure. And as the ship drew near the island, the singing came over the water.
I must go on shore and find where this music comes from.
And go on shore he did, and came to where the nightingale and the linden leaves were singing. And there was Lila Rosa sitting under the linden tree.
I never thought anyone could be so beautiful.
Oh, who are you? But whoever you are, welcome, after all my months of loneliness.
And he brought her to his ship, and set sail for his own country. And the linden tree uprooted itself and came flying through the air after the ship, with the nightingale still perched on its topmost branch. So to the sound of that music the prince brought Lila Rosa home to his palace, and the tree drifted down into the palace garden, and there the prince and Lila Rosa planted it. They fell in love and married, and by Lila Rosa had a beautiful baby boy. So she wrote to her father, the king, telling him everything that had happened, but she never said that the queen was the cause of all her troubles. The king was delighted. He wanted to take a ship at once and visit her, but the queen wouldn't let him.
No, that won't do. Long later and I will go, and we will bring back Lila Rosa and her husband and the child to visit you.
But first she went to see a witch, who was a special friend of hers. And from the witch she got a robe of many-coloured silk. It looked beautiful, but woe betide anyone who put it on. So the queen and Longleder set sail and reached the prince's country. Lila Rosa gave them a kindly welcome, glad to think that they were friends again, but her husband, the prince, said to himself,
No good will come of this. And as for that girl, Longleder, she's so ugly I can't bear to look at her.
Longleder was always scowling, but that was because she didn't dare to laugh, in case another toad should jump out of her mouth. Later on, the queen took Lila Rosa up to her room.
Dear little daughter, I have a gift that your father has sent for you. See, a robe of many-coloured silk.
Oh, how pretty! I will wear it tonight to surprise the prince.
Yes, do, my dear. I'm sure he will be surprised.
Then the queen and Longleder went to their ship and sailed away. That evening Lila Rosa took the robe and held it up before her in a mirror, but it seemed to her that there came a little whisper.
No, Lila Rosa, don't put it on. Why? What? Oh, I mustn't be silly. This is a present from my dear father.
And the moment she drew the robe over her head, she disappeared. And there in front of the mirror was a great golden goose.
Ah!
And the goose flew out of the open window and away. From that hour, the linden tree's music ended, and the song of the nightingale was heard no more. The prince looked for Lila Rosa high and low, and as for Lila Rosa's little son, he cried and cried. Now one calm night when the moon was full, one of the prince's fishermen was out at sea. Suddenly he saw a great golden bird swimming towards him. The great bird swam close up to the side of the boat, and then it spoke.
Good evening, fisherman. How are things at home in the royal palace? Does my linden tree play? Does my nightingale sing? Does my little son laugh by night and by day? Does my lord always make himself merry?
And as if in a dream, the fisherman answered,
At home in the royal palace all is not well. Your linden tree does not play. Your nightingale does not sing. Your little son weeps by night and by day. and your Lord never makes himself merry.
Ah, poor me. Now I float on the blue waves, and I can never more be what I used to be. Good night, fisherman. I will come once more, and then never again.
Then the bird swam away, and the fisherman rowed to the shore, hurried to the prince, and told him what he'd seen and heard. The prince was amazed.
Tomorrow I will come with you, fisherman, for I must catch that bird, and I will catch it.
So the next evening he went with the fisherman upon the sea and waited for the moon to rise.
My prince, had we not better row home?
No. No. Look, over there, coming towards us.
Aye.
Good evening, fisherman. Good evening, my prince. How are things at home in the royal palace? Does my linden tree play? Does my nightingale sing? Does my little son laugh by night and by day? Does my lord always make himself merry?
At home in the royal palace all is not well. Your linden tree does not play. Your nightingale does not sing. Your little son weeps by night and by day. And I, your lord, never make myself merry.
Ah, poor me. Now I float on the blue waves, and I can never more be what I used to be. Good night, fisherman. Good night, my lord. Now I can come here no more.
The golden bird was about to swim away, but the prince leaned from the boat and caught her in his arms.
Let me go quickly, or hold fast.
And she turned at once from a golden bird into an enormous serpent. The serpent writhed and twisted and tried to slip out of the prince's arms, but he held it fast, and it thrust its long teeth into his arm and lashed him with its tail.
Let me go quickly, or hold fast.
And all at once it changed itself into a monstrous dragon, whose flaming breath spat fire into the prince's face.
My prince, let the thing go!
No!
Let go quickly, or hold fast.
And still the prince held on as the thing fought and kicked and scratched and hissed and spat, until at last it gave one great cry and lay still in his arms. And the being that the prince now clasped in his arms was his own dear wife, his beloved Lila Rosa. So he wrapped her in his cloak, and the fisherman rowed them home. Next day, the prince and Lila Rosa and their little son set out to visit the king, Lila Rosa's father. And as soon as the queen saw them, she gripped Long Leda by the arm, and together they crept out of the palace and fled away. Where they went, nobody knew, and certainly nobody cared. The old king was overjoyed to see his Lila Rosa again. So, after a long and happy visit, the prince and Lila Rosa and their little son went home again to their own country. And there the linden tree plays, and there the nightingale sings, and there Lila Rosa's little son laughs by day and by night, and there the prince at all times makes himself merry. And that's the end of our story. Now I have to say goodbye. Till next time. Goodbye.